Like many Palestinians in Bethlehem, Claire Anastas is a Christian. She lives here with her husband and 4 children in what she says was once a prosperous thoroughfare.
They've built a wall around your house.
Yeah. We used to live in a very good life, especially for our children.
Yeah.
We used to live in very healthy life, so it's impossible to let them live bird alive like that or living in a tomb. It's all surrounded.
Living in a tomb.
All the views is walls. Even it was greenlands and very nice area.
And there's the back of the wall. That's horrible, isn't it?
You can imagine, we are sick inside. When they built the wall, my children went to school, and when they returned back, they saw it built.
The whole wall?
The whole way in one day.
All the way through?
Yeah, surrounded like that. So they stood in front of their bedroom windows, and they just cried.
Elias took me to one of the poorer areas of town. Because of the wall, the children here are now forced to play in the street.
Behind the wall, you will see a very nice olive grove where all these children...
That's where the kids used to play?
Yeah, used to play soccer, used to go and read and have fun, but now after the wall, not anymore.
Not anymore. That's the olive grove where the kids would have played.
Yes.
And there's now no way at all that people can get over to the olive groves over there. No chance.
Seen from above, the purpose of the wall seems rather different. In the distance, one of the Jewish settlements of the West Bank, with acres of land to expand into. And right there, Palestinian Bethlehem, hemmed in on all sides.
No chance for the town to expand.
And this is the purpose. They are trying to take as much as more land, so there is no hope for future expansion.
What first occurs, of course, when you see this is the sheer crudity of what the Israelis have done and also the vindictiveness and the pettiness. Now, you can build a wall for security, but it doesn't look from where I'm standing that this wall has been built solely with security in mind. There is something else there. And the annexation of this huge amount of land that the Palestinians used to grow their crops on and play in and picnic in has just been taken like that without so much as a by your leave by the Israelis. That's not a security issue.
It may remind you of many walls from history. In Berlin, in Belfast, and in Warsaw. Back in Tel Aviv, I confronted the Deputy Defence Minister, Ephraim Snei, whose department has direct responsibility for the West Bank.
Why has Israel built the wall?
We built the wall because we lost almost 1,000 Israelis, most of them civilians, in a suicide bombing perpetrated by terrorists, mainly from the West Bank, who just walked from the places where they live to Israeli towns and villages, mainly to shopping malls, restaurants, bus stations, and exploded themselves.
But you're inflicting this misery upon an entire population with the wall built in many cases, and particularly in Bethlehem, right up against the side of their houses, so there is no room for that Arab community to expand.
If there is damage to Palestinians whose access to their lands is now limited, the blame is on the terrorists to turn the West Bank to a basis for suicide bombers.
The wall effectively marks the death of the peace process between Israel and the Palestinians. But the Palestinians do today enjoy some measure of autonomy. Within the towns of the West Bank, they have their own policemen, who are allowed to do stuff like direct the traffic, as if auditioning for a part in Chicago. The new Palestinian Authority has proved predictably corrupt and incompetent. But how much real power does it wield? The West Bank is divided into 3 zones. Zone A, under Palestinian control, Zone B, where control is shared, and Zone C, where the Israelis retain full control. I wanted to discover just how much this limited autonomy represented a genuine democratic concession by the Israelis. Elias took me to the village of Al-Masra, which lies a few miles to the south of Bethlehem. He introduced me to Mahmoud Zwachra, the local mayor and headmaster of the local school.
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Hiya, girls.
We will introduce for you all of the staffs in this school.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mahmoud proudly showed me around his school.
5th grade.
Hi. Hi. What are they learning?
What are you learning now? Religion. Yeah.
Religion.
Yeah.
Education in the West Bank is fully under Palestinian control. But once school was over, Mahmoud took me on a tour of the area.
The idea is that it's not our fault that we...
Villages like Al-Masra have seen their lands steadily eaten away by the growth of Jewish settlements during the 4 decades of occupation. There are now close to 500,000 Jewish settlers in the West Bank, their homes easily identifiable by their red roofs and apparent prosperity. The Palestinian Authority is powerless to prevent their growth.
So, what's all this about? This is a demolished house.
Yes, last year the soldiers came and they destroyed this house because it is built very close to the settlement, even though the house is built before the settlement, and they told them that the house is in a high place, so they destroy it.
It's in a high place. You're
Yes.
not allowed to build in high places.
Because it's close to the settlement. Even the houses are here before the settlement. This settlement is new.
Officially, the reason given for the destruction of this house was that it lacked a building permit. The destruction, therefore, was legal, and the Israelis are always very careful to maintain the rule of law. But the fact is, the Israelis very rarely grant building permits. More than 5,000 homes have been destroyed in the occupied territories in the last 6 years. But in an arid country like Israel, perhaps even more important than control over land is control over water. And as dusk fell, Mahmoud took me to a place he felt represented the grossest injustice that the Palestinians face: an Israeli water pumping plant.
This water is pumped to the settlement, and I am living beside the settlement, and it's not allowed for me to take the water.
Yeah.
So they give us like pipes like this to take water, and they close it whenever they want. And in summer, we have no water because all of the water go to the settlement.
Palestinians are denied access to the River Jordan and are dependent for their water supply on underwater reservoirs. But this resource is also controlled by the Israelis, who seem to give preference to the settlers.
I want this water for me because it's my right. They control the water, and the water is critical. And I think that in the future we will have the water war.
The water war.
Yes.
Yeah. I suppose you can make a security case for building the wall, loathsome though it is. And you can make a security case, I guess, for stopping Palestinians from building houses anywhere where they might be tempted to take a pot shot at the Israelis on the other hill. Even though that's stretching it, in my opinion. But what you can't surely do is argue that the restrictions upon the Palestinians' access to water is a security issue. It just doesn't add up.
Again, this conflicted with my basic notions of liberal democracy, and I confronted the Deputy Defence Minister.
The Israeli government is also accused of preventing the Palestinians from getting at what they say is their own water in their own territory on the West Bank, 80% of which goes to Israel. What do you say to that?
Yeah, it's not true. The question is how we share the water. Because the water, they are in underground reservoirs, you know. And you can drill in Tel Aviv and you can drill in Nablus. You reach this, finally the same reservoir, and we share it, if we like it or not.
But, like it or not, it is not shared remotely equably. The Israelis control who gets the water and indeed how much of it they get. Summer is a thirsty time for the Palestinians. It was clear to me that Palestinian autonomy is, at best, only partial. Education aside, almost all key areas of Palestinian life continue to be controlled by the Israeli government, a government for which the Palestinians of the West Bank have no right to vote. Until now, I'd only glimpsed the Jewish settlements as I drove on the roads beneath them. I decided it was time I crossed the lines and heard the settler point of view.
I lost all my family in the Holocaust. I don't have grandmothers, grandfathers, uncles. I don't have nothing. The world can say whatever they want. This is our land, and we're going to stay here.